Thank you, Madellaine Paxson, for sitting down with Modern Horrors. I have watched your movie Blood Punch, and it was fantastic. Thank you for sitting down with us tonight. How are you?
I'm great, and it's a pleasure to be with you.
So let me ask you this. For those who haven't seen it, what type of film is Blood Punch?
Well, that's a excellent question because we've spent the last year playing horror festivals, and we kind of bill ourselves as a horror movie. But strictly speaking, I would actually call us a supernatural film noir black comedy. But there's really not a place to sell that, you know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. How did Blood Punch come about?
Well, the story behind Blood Punch is really long and intricate, so I'll tell it as quickly as I can, as not long and intricately as I as I can make it, because uh, the screenwriter Eddie Gazelian and I met at Disney, and we're both cartoon writers. That's how we make our money. Um, that's how we make our living, I should say. But while working on, we primarily write cartoons, but we did do a stint on a season of Power Rangers, which was cast out of, it was shot in New Zealand, and the actors that were being cast were Australians or New Zealand Kiwis, you know. So we met these actors who were Power Rangers in New Zealand, and we couldn't believe how amazing their acting was. Like, we were kind of stunned because here we'd worked on live action kids shows, and it's hard to find good actors in America, in LA. Um, we kind of had also been told by Disney, who was the owner of Power Rangers at the time, you know, we've auditioned that whole country and you're not going to find any good actors. Just make sure they look right. But then we found these amazing actors and we stayed friends with them. And so when we decided we wanted to make a movie, we started in a way with the actors first. So then, you know, we wanted to use Ari Boyland, Olivia Tennant, and Milo Cawthorn, the stars, um, just to wrap a movie around that. So that's essentially where we started. Three characters. You know, we're trying to do low budget, so um, that led to essentially making Love Triangle, which led to film noir, which led to, and also we kind of wanted to stretch. We worked in kids TV, all of us, you know, the Power Rangers guys too, as actors, for years, and probably had a little bit of pent up aggression, frankly, that we needed to get out.
Yeah, this is a very edgy and complex movie. So let me ask you this. Not having seen the Power Rangers in years and years and years, watched it when it first came out. What did Ari and the gang do? Or were they the Power Rangers themselves? Or
Yeah, Milo Cawthorn, who plays Milton, was the Green Ranger. Ari Boyland was the Blue Ranger. Olivia Tennant, who is Skylar, was kind of, you know, they often have a mentor on Power Rangers, and she was their mentor. She played a brilliant, awkward, socially awkward, kind of a weirdo. Um, so yeah, she was that, and Adelaide Kane, who's Nabiki, was the villain.
yeah, I mean, I've got to say this cast is amazing. Milo really has a presence in the film, as does Olivia. Your two leads are pretty amazing. Did they did you write the characters around them?
Yes, pretty much, because you needed, and you know, this was even true on Power Rangers. Um, for casting, you know, since you haven't seen the season, that particular season, which by the way is RPM, is what it's called. You're trying to stretch what a Power Ranger would be able to get away or do, you know, convey instead of just being really bland. And not to say that Power Rangers are bland, but we knew the actors could do a lot more, and they had been pushed a lot on Power Rangers, and so we knew they could do even more outside in something that wasn't limited to being like a children's show. And we wanted them to stretch, frankly, because in the kind of jobs that they were up for was still more very kind of like soap opera stuff in New Zealand because they were living in New Zealand. Um, and we dragged them here and put weapons in their hands, lots and lots of them, and all kinds of foul language, which was way fun. I think they had a lot of fun having to say that stuff. We worried a little bit for Olivia, but man, she pulls it off.
Yeah, she does.
Um, so, usually the way you make movies usually is you start with a script, then you go casting, cast your actors, then you make it, and you do production. But we did it the other way around. We got the actors first, and I'm not sure we could do it another way after having done it that way because you're so in tune with your actors at that point. Everybody's on the same page. You're all a team.
How did the actual themes behind Blood Punch come about?
Well, there's Eddie tells a funny story. Eddie Gazelian, the screenwriter, tells a funny story of essentially what kicked it off for him was when he was in college. I guess he got really drunk one night, but he had a test the next morning he couldn't miss. So he left a note for his roommates to wake him up no matter what at this time, and left it. And then he went to bed, and something made it like he had to get up and go to the bathroom, forgot. He'd put down a note and thought, I need to put down a note. And he wrote out the note, and he went to put it down, and there was the identical note already sitting on the desk. And that kind of left a really creepy impression on him. So that's why the beginning of it is this, you get a message from yourself, essentially. So that sort of started off that. Then we were really, trying to tell essentially an engaging story in genres that we really like, particularly, there's a lot of film noir elements in it. We love Groundhog Day, but I wouldn't say that was the inspiration. But we really do love Groundhog Day too.
Sure, and
So I don't know.
you did it excellently, and it's a very complicated film, especially for a directorial debut. Can you explain some of the challenges that you encountered in making the film?
Well, I had never made a feature. I'd only ever made short films before, and most of my career is writing. I'm a writer, so I tend to look at it from that point of view. I'm not about like making a flashy, lots of camera moving and this, that, and the other. I'm a child of the 80s. Those are the movies I like. That's how I tend to look at movies, that I want them to look the way I liked movies to look when I, was watching them as a kid. Now this one, because I had a whole crew. Even though it's low budget, we still had Red Epic cameras, and those require crews. I didn't know anything about that. I knew writing. That's what I knew. And I wanted these characters to, the good thing about having a writing background is that you really are focused on getting the story told, the characters to come across the way you see them. And the plot, it's not about the flash. It should be sort of invisible directing, if that makes any sense. So also this particular movie, because it has that repeating day, you'd think it'd be easier if your cast is wearing the same outfits for your whole movie, but it's a little bit harder than you'd think because they're wearing the same outfits, but technically they're on different days. So we needed a script supervisor. We had a fantastic script supervisor, Christina Fanti, who helped me. She was my right-hand man to keep things, so there wasn't anything really obviously wrong in any of that regular stuff. So I don't know if that even answers your question, but...
So, did you shoot the film in order?
No, I don't know if anybody's ever done that. I'm sure somebody has at this point. But no, we did it out of order, and we did it essentially because there's 3 different main locations. And we started in the mountains at the cabin and moved to the hospital, which is where the Skylar and Milton characters meet. But we did that we shot that in the middle, and then we moved out to the desert, part 3, So yeah, almost like those are the 3 acts of our locations.
Gotcha. And I guess it's not too confusing because all the really confusing stuff takes place in one area, I suppose.
Well, without getting into too many specifics towards the end, um, it's you don't want the audience to know too much. I think they probably know plenty
Yeah.
at this point going into it. But yeah, it's like it's kind of like you want to maintain some. I'm surprised, like a lot of reviewers have been very mindful about not just giving away all the spoilers because they know it's like, oh wait, these are surprises that I want to save so people could be amazed.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the influences on Blood Punch? You mentioned that you're a child of the 80s. What films inspired your desire to direct?
Well, because I'm a child of the 80s, I really love movies like Aliens, RoboCop, The Fly. I mean, not just those, but I did tend to like movies that have really good characters, quite a bit of violence, and also a lot of laughs to kind of offset the tension. And I think that's what we were going for. It's a bit of a mashup, tonally.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I know you don't want to give anything away, but this is an interesting movie, and I'm planning on people listening to this interview to find out what happened in the movie. So, I want to know, were there deleted scenes in the movie that you decide didn't work or might end up on the cutting room floor for the DVD or anything like that?
There's loads of deleted features, and you can there's all kinds of behind the scenes stuff. If you wanted to order the DVD, which I think you can pretty much order it anywhere. You can order DVDs like Amazon, but you can also, like, we're trying to get people to pre-order our movie on iTunes to help us get better ranking on the iTunes charts when it comes out on September 1st. So we are going to offer those bonus features to people who pre-order the movie as well on iTunes.
Is there an alternate ending to the film, or was that ever an option?
We never shot an alternate ending, but I will say there was a lot of discussion about who should win, quote unquote, without giving too much away. Um,
Sure.
we're writers, so we have a lot of writer friends who we would give the script to who would often have very strong opinions about, no, I don't like the way this is ending. I'd rather have it end this way. But at the end of the day, you have to go with what you and your heart feel like works best. And I have to say, I think, at least from what we've seen at festival screenings, it's fascinating to watch people watch your movie because, when you write cartoons, those are things that go away, get made, and you never see anybody watching them. And this probably would have happened if we hadn't spent a long time doing festivals, where we wouldn't have ever watched it with an audience. But there's something so magical about watching it with an audience, and you learn a lot too. So in retrospect, I'm really glad we went our own way on that ending.
How was the reaction to a film this complex at these screenings?
I was so thrilled because you really don't know how it's going to go. Because first we did kind of regular film festivals, and they were great. And then we thought we're going to go to smaller, more horror specific festivals and see what that's like. And the audiences are so amazing. I kind of feel like people really underestimate the horror audiences. They're very smart. And they were so wonderful. That's probably, at the end of the day, so far been the cherry on the cake, was watching it with audiences.
And I know you don't want to spoil things, so I'm going to try to be vague here. But I'm curious now. As a writer, you've written these characters, and there are vague elements in the script, some of which don't ever really get resolved. So, my question to you is: there's a lot of ambiguity between the two main characters, Milton and Skylar. In your opinion, does Skylar love Milton?
My opinion doesn't matter. Your opinion is the only opinion that matters as an audience member, as a
Gotcha.
viewer.
Okay. All right. So now you've created a unique and interesting first film, which I think most people, whether they totally love it or dislike most of it, I think they can at least say it's interesting and unique. What's next?
Well, that's a great question. I wish I had a really, awesome answer. But mostly, we are trying to get notice for this movie so that we can make another one. Essentially, um, I'm. It's likely we would stick to. I like the tone of this movie so much. It's kind of like that's for me. That's me. And it would probably stick to something like I'm not going to ever make a weepy drama. It's just not me. Um, but yeah, so that's why we're trying to make a real splash with this, which right now means ordering it on iTunes, pre-ordering it on iTunes if possible, and see if we can get some notice.
Gotcha. Now, this is, I think, probably brought a spotlight on some of the actors. Have any of them gotten, future projects now because of this?
Well, I mean, I don't know for sure, but Milo Cawthorn recently in a movie that hasn't come out yet, but will, called Deathgasm, which was shot in New Zealand. And when that comes out, you should definitely watch it because he's awesome, and it's a really good movie. It's really funny. And you know what? He was also cast. I was so happy to hear this because they're shooting the Evil Dead series in New Zealand as well, and he did an episode of the new Evil Dead series. So I was blown over and thrilled by that. Um, Liv is always working. There's so much production going on in New Zealand that you never hear about, except for stuff like that Evil Dead because that's going to air here. But yeah, they've been working there a lot. Ari is here with us, trying to more get into the American market.
Yeah, I've heard of Deathgasm, and I can't wait to see it. It's supposed to be really, really fun and gory. So, good for him. Yeah, he really was a strong lead. Are there any stories from the set you'd like to share?
Oh boy. Um, if I Now I have to think about 2 years ago.
Has it been 2 years for you to get the film out?
Yeah, it's been a long, long time. We did not rush through this because you can if you can make it through production, that's the fastest part. Everything else takes at least, if you're doing everything yourself, essentially, it takes a long time. And still trying to keep your day job, as it were. Um, so yeah, and then we did a year of a festival run. But gosh, there are millions of stories from the set. I wish I could remember a really good one for you. I was going to say, we thought we were cursed on the first day of production because there was an ice storm, and we couldn't even get our truck with camera equipment there. And that was day one in the mountains in Idlewild, California, which it was November, so we thought, oh, it doesn't usually snow there. And they just had giant snowstorm and ice storm, and nobody could get up there and cars were sliding all over the place. And I just thought, well, this is going straight to hell. But I guess that's just production.
And it all turned out good in the end, huh?
Yeah, it did. And this is a thing I learned too, and I think I used to know this, but production is kind of hell no matter what. if you're a big budget movie, you can use money to help solve those problems sometimes, but not always. But when it's just you're a small group and you don't have a lot of money, you just have to be ingenious and try to. Well, our actor who played Archer, the drug dealer. We brought him from New Zealand, and he's also uh, in a hilarious movie, which is more of a horror comedy that's out now. You can watch. It's like a fake documentary about vampires. What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
right. So we flew him out from New Zealand, and then so he flew into LA, drove up to the mountains, and got altitude sickness, and was in the hospital the day he was supposed to shoot. And he was in the hospital for days. That's not funny, okay? But again, when you start out with the ice storm and you think you're cursed, and maybe it's a sign from God that you should just quit. Eh, maybe that's wrong. Maybe you shouldn't take everything as a sign, because then he recovered. We shot him. We had all kinds of things. In the desert, we had sandstorms. We had a bomb scare, and we were all evacuated. So it's just, perseverance, I guess.
Yeah, and here we are, 2 years later, and Blood Punch is about to come out on iTunes. So we really enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely watch Blood Punch. Is there anything you'd like to add about the film or the promotion or this experience from you?
Well, mainly just thank you to everybody, and also pre-order on iTunes, or you could rent it on September 1st, and that would count towards whatever the numbers that iTunes uses to put you on a page where people might actually see that you exist.
Well, New Zealand is really hot right now. We also had Housebound, I think, from you guys a couple years ago, didn't we?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, What We Do in the Shadows is really burning it up here. So good job, guys. We are all looking forward to your next movie, and thank you for taking your time out with us today.
Thank you so much. This has been great.
All right, well, that is Madellaine Paxton, and check out our movie Blood Punch. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, see ya. Bye.
Bye bye.